Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we will be reading from Am I the Jerk? Our first post is by Fuzzy Future. Am I the jerk for telling my 14-year-old daughter that she's average looking? I, F39, have a very insecure daughter, F14, who has a depressingly unhealthy obsession with her looks. She often avoids mirrors and pictures because her mood instantly drains when she sees herself. She constantly asks her father and me if we think she's pretty, and we always tell her the same thing, that she's a beautiful girl inside and out. As I understand how most teenage girls are with their body image, as I was one at some point myself, my daughter's vanity is not only becoming exhausting to those around her, but I fear it's causing her to slowly lose herself. Yesterday, I decided to sit her down to chat with her about this, to discuss what's bothering her, and to see if she's willing to visit a therapist. She told me she didn't want to talk about it, but as her mother, of course, I'm going to be worried about her, so I insisted. She finally agreed. A few minutes into this conversation, she asked exactly this: "Mom, I want you to be completely honest with me. That means no sugarcoating. The kids at my school think I'm ugly and say I look like a bird because I have a big nose. Do you really think I'm beautiful, or are you just lying?" I'm an honest person, so I gave her the most honest answer I had. I told her she was average looking like most people in the world are, and that it's not a bad thing to have an average appearance. She immediately got up and left without saying a word, and just went into her room for the rest of the night. Today she has been cold and distant, and I think I upset her, which wasn't my intention at all. Am I the jerk? Our next post is by Ambitious Emotion. Am I the jerk because I won't buy food for my ex and our kids? My ex and I divorced when our kids were young. The kids are 12 and 15 now. We have been divorced for 7 years now. We have 50-50 custody, and she remarried, so spousal support is done. Her new husband recently left her. I don't know, and am not interested in the particulars. In my opinion, he didn't seem like a terrible guy, and he left her their house. Once again, I have no idea of debt load or anything like that. She called me last week to see if I could please help her out with some food. She said that she had run through her budget for food for her and the kids, and basically begged me to help her out. I asked her to give me a few minutes and I would call her back. I talked to my girlfriend, who lives with me, and we agreed that we could spare some food. We have a freezer full of elk, venison, and wild hog, as well as a well-stocked pantry. We also have beef, pork, and chicken. I called my ex back and told her to come by and pick up a big load of groceries. This is where it got weird. She said she didn't want groceries. She wanted me to give her money for Uber Eats or something. I said, "No, I have 2 weeks worth of food that you can have, but I'm not giving you money for takeout." She called me a jerk for expecting her to be grateful for my scraps, that I was expecting her to be all domestic. Everything I was going to give her was either frozen meat, canned veggies, fresh vegetables from the garden, and pasta rice in unopened bags. I want my kids to eat well. Both of my kids hunt, and my son, the older one, is a pretty good cook. He regularly makes meals for all of us at my house. Both kids eat game meat as well as store-bought. I honestly thought I was doing what she asked. I told my girlfriend not to bother packing anything up. I texted both kids and told them to let me know if they were actually going hungry, and I would take care of everything. Both kids texted back and said there was food in the house, it just needed to be prepared. Both of them also said that if I was willing to spare some of the elk and hog roasts, they would take them. I laughed and said I would take them over later. My ex, however, is telling everyone that I am trying to manipulate her into behaving like a housewife and refusing to buy food for my kids. Some people are taking her side and saying that I'm a dick for not helping her out. 100% balls out honesty. I don't think I'm in the wrong, but maybe I'm missing something. Our next post is by Child Priority Post. Am I the jerk for telling my sister that if she's so upset about my kid not sharing her toys, they could find another place to live? I'm a single mom to Emmy, 6. Emmy is my only child. She's been sick since she was 2, and if I'm going to be honest, She likely won't make it to 10. Her dad left us when she got sick. Emmy spends 1 week in the hospital, then a week at home. Because of this, the last time I was able to send her to school was 2 years ago when we were able to do preschool 3 hours a day, 2 days a week, and they still wore masks. Now the only time she's around other kids is when she's in the hospital. Emmy hates sharing her toys, so I try not to make her do it. Usually when we see her cousins, I'll buy something like a big pack of chalk and a gallon of bubbles, and I'll tell her it's for everybody, but that's the only time she'll share. My sister and her 2 daughters, 5 and 7, are living with us temporarily. It's been difficult for everyone. At first, I switched rooms with Emmy, and we put all 3 girls in the master, but Emmy hated sharing rooms and said the girls were always touching her stuff, so we switched back, and I put the girls in the spare room with their mom. My sister was complaining that the room was too crowded, so she's staying on a cot in my office, but apparently that's also uncomfortable, so she wants the girls to share again. My sister does not pay any rent. Her husband sends $500 a month to help pay for their groceries, and she helps with Emmy while I'm working. My job is pretty flexible, so I'm able to watch her while I work. They've also been complaining that I take Emmy on weekend trips without them. Emmy just spent the week in the hospital, and we came home on Saturday. My niece's beds were moved into Emmy's room, and her toys were everywhere. I confronted my sister, and she said Emmy isn't using her room or her toys half the time, and that little girls should be sharing with each other. I told her that Emmy has already made it clear that she does not want to share her room or her toys, and that her room needs to be the way we left it by the end of the day. She says I'm being unfair, so I snapped at her that I will be prioritizing my kid over her ungrateful self and her kids, and that if she can't get over my kid not sharing, she needs to find somewhere else to live. They did fix Emmy's room, but they haven't been talking to us. At this point, I'm thinking about kicking them out anyways. Am I the jerk for telling her she needs to get over my kid not sharing or move out? Our next post is by Available Mix. Am I the jerk for showing my mom the letter my sister wrote to me before she died? I, 16M, lost my sister Birdie last year. Birdie was 20 when she died. She had been diagnosed with cancer a year before her death. She knew she was dying, so she made a will for the very few things she had. It was mostly sentimental childhood stuff she had. Old stuffies, and she had a necklace that our dad bought her. Stuff like that. It wasn't a lot, but she left it all to me. She also wrote a letter to me before she died. But anyway, I was the only person who got anything from Birdie. She left our grandparents, paternal, in charge of everything until I'm 18 or until I'm out of mom's house. The problem with this is mom has other kids. Birdie and I lost our dad when we were both kids. Mom remarried. Neither of us really cared much for mom's husband, and when mom had more kids, we didn't feel the same about them as we did each other. Birdie was more vocal, while I didn't say anything. Mostly I didn't want to fight with mom over it, and I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but Birdie and mom never really got along, and it was only worse after dad died, and then mom remarried. The fact Birdie left nothing for our half-siblings and never even wrote them a goodbye letter bothers mom, and it really upset them because they wanted to know why she wrote to me and left me her stuff but not them. They wanted to read my letter, but I said no. It became a fight with mom then, and she wanted to know why Birdie left the rest of the family nothing, and why even when she knew she was dying, she couldn't find a way to embrace the other kids enough to give them something. A small goodbye. I showed mom the letter because Birdie wrote a lot about her feelings and mentioned things she and I talked about when mom wasn't around. I knew the letter would be a lot. Birdie said clearly she never loved or cared about the other kids at all, and wanted me to know that she didn't want them to have anything, but if I felt differently, if I ended up loving them one day and wanted to give them something of hers, that she wouldn't be mad. Mom read the whole thing twice, if not 3 times, and then she asked me why I had shown her the letter and what did I want to do with her. She was so mad she was shaking, and she told me I was never to show my half-siblings, and I pointed out I had said no to them reading it already. Nothing else was said that day, but then Mom told me I was cruel for rubbing my sister's words in her face, and she wanted me to know she might never be able to forgive me for it. She told me forgiveness would be off the table if I ever breathed a word of it to her other kids. Am I the jerk? Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.